And another episode of Utah's Missing tonight, we're speaking to a private investigator, now part of the search for missing 16-year-old Kylie Arellano. Garden City, Utah, a small community in Rich County on the west side of Bear Lake. For some, it's a popular summer resort destination town. Nicknamed the Caribbean of the Rockies, family of Kylie Arellano calling Garden City home. It has now been 153 days since the now 16-year-old walked away from her Garden City home, reported to have a suitcase in tow. Kylie's mother says a teenager doesn't just vanish without a trace, but there's been no communication, social media posts, nothing since she left home. Tonight, we welcome private investigator Steve Fischer, who is now part of this case. Steve and I have been in conversation about other cases here in Utah, and you have some involvement now on the Kylie Arellano situation, spanning now months here. Steve, how did you get involved in the case?
So I was through a different case that I was, working in Utah, and that parent, put me in touch with Kylie's mom, and we started talking, and she has other people that are working with her as well. But I'm lending assistance where I can.
Steve, what stands out to you with this situation? Maybe the lack of information, the answers. What stands out to you now that you've been brought up to speed here?
Well, unfortunately, I think that she was treated just as a missing, a runaway missing that was just going through a moment, and a lot of time was lost there. And instead of being treated like an endangered, critical missing, where it's there's a lot more investigation going on. She, like so many teenagers her age, had a large online presence and on different apps and whatnot. And as far as I know, there has not been warrants served on those companies to get that data and who she was communicating with. We have been able to access some of those accounts, and we saw, threatening messages to her if she didn't send explicit imagery. Those are things that we think should be treated really seriously. And as far as we know, warrants haven't been issued.
So you've alluded to the concept of things not being done early on in this case, which is something that Kylie's family has felt and expressed since the very beginning. In theory, what would you have liked to see done right away when this happened back in late May now? It's been basically 6 months.
Yeah, so immediately, serve warrants on the exigent departments of those, Discord and the other platforms she was using, and they'll get those returns back within 24 hours most of the time. You can see exactly who she was communicating with, what those IP addresses are, what those messages contain, which we now know there was some threatening messages in there that people at least blackmailing her, and and then also her phone, when where exactly was it before it shut off, and any other usage patterns, deviations in regular usage, things like that. But I believe at the beginning it was thought, hey, listen, she'll calm down and she'll call or come home, and that's just not the case 153 days later. And even though it wasn't done, it still needs, it needs to be done, even if it's 153 days later. That needs to be done, and law enforcement's the only one that can issue those warrants.
So with Kylie being classified as a runaway, it sounds like that may have also hurt the initial search for her. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Every state has different standards how they treat runaway cases, and most of the time they're just considered kind of like a voluntary missing adult, and it's so many times it's not the case. There's something else going on. There's a reason that they're running away, and they need to be found, and then they need to be deeper by clinical, people that are trained in this to find out exactly what's going on and why they're running in the first place.
So how does time impact what we see here? The further time passes, does it get more difficult? Do the clues start going away? Do the clues get erased at that point when we get to day 153 compared to maybe a week or so or hours after somebody's been missing?
Yeah, in just about every layer, it goes away. So surveillance. Typically people have about 30-day retention on their surveillance systems, the ring cameras and whatnot. So that's overwritten, by now. So we lose that. Just the geofence itself, where she could be, expands. To there are no borders anymore. So now it just becomes until we get a clue, we can narrow down a location. She literally 153 days, she can be anywhere. So by losing, surveillance, will the retention will still be there on the digital forensics from like the social media companies and whatnot. But it just, somebody has her, it just gives them so much time to put, plans in motion it just makes it a much bigger, a true, needle in a haystack.
Well, we've spoken with the sheriff's office right here on this very program. We've done a number of pieces about Kylie to keep the awareness, to keep her face out there in case somebody sees her, maybe public transit or with another individual or maybe with a group of people, that this face will be recognizable. And that's always been our goal here. The sheriff told me a few months ago now that they did have tips come in with potential sightings. Everything was unfounded, from locally here in Salt Lake City, Utah, to places really all over the country. And at this point, Steve, what else can be done from the PI side, from what you're looking to do? How will you take this from here?
So we continue to, chase these digital, leads that we get. We're trying to learn who, with these apps like Discord and whatnot, these people are using screen names, are anonymous, but we've had some luck in tracking down some of the people. And, programs like yours make a huge difference. There was a lead that came in not long ago from Alabama. We talked to that person. We ended up getting surveillance from the store and it was somebody that looked remarkably like Kylie. It wasn't her, but by there being this outreach, people across the country know about this case. Or learn more about it, and we get leads like that, and they do pay off sometimes. So, chasing down things like that, and then also just trying to talk to people that were in her orbit. And listen, there likely is somebody, a friend, online friend, that knows something, and just doesn't want to give it up because they don't want to be, the person that turned on her or something. It could be a situation like that. It's just 153 days later, she's 15 years old. She needs to come home, and then we can find out what's really going on. But if anybody knows anything, it's just a really desperate situation.
Steve, last thing for you. The FBI apparently does have involvement in this case. We've kind of heard both messaging on this, but even as of late, there's been FBI involvement. What can that do here and expand the resource beyond just what's happening in the local county there?
Well, the FBI is the best there is in digital forensics. They have tools to trace down, even burner phones and things like that. And they have recently gotten involved, and they've been, fantastic. Her mom has been working with an agent, and they really are making an effort. And that's great news, because the FBI has a toolbox bigger than anybody else. And although the sheriff's department still, that they're not overstepping the sheriff's department. So as long as they can work together, I think this is a great, thing to have them on board, because they do have amazing capabilities.
Well, the goal here is the same as it's been since the beginning. Keep the photo out there, keep the awareness going, bring Kylie home, and get the family some answers. Steve Fischer, private investigator, now assisting with the case and working those leads and trying to get some answers, and also share that with the family and the investigation. Steve, thanks for joining us here on the program tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So Kylie's mother says she's had no contact with her daughter since late May, when she's disappeared. We've talked about that extensively here on the program. Now her family started this GoFundMe to help support legal fees and search efforts. Kylie's 5'6", weighing roughly 150 pounds. That's 115. She has chin-length brown hair, brown eyes, black braces with tattoos. If you have any information on her whereabouts, the point of contact, as you just heard, Rich County Sheriff's Office, 435-793-2285, referencing case number 25R308.